Alright, so I'm just going to quickly run over some of the learnings I got from using Astroberry, my latest session. A couple of issues that I come across, and I certainly don't know if they're the result of Astroberry itself or my own doing. So anyway, I started my session here, and I'm just checking out one of my first subs to make sure that my focus is good. So what I'm doing here is I'm just downloading one of the HA subs off the Astroberry Pi to my desktop so I can examine it in PixInsight. And obviously, it's the first time I've played with this program, so just trying to figure out how to do everything. So I'm kind of fiddling a little bit there, but we get there eventually. So I'm running this version of Astroberry on a Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 gigs of RAM. Throughout the video, just keep an eye on the upper right hand corner of this screen here. There's a little red box. That is the memory usage, and you'll see that increasing throughout the session. And I do believe I stopped the recording before K-Stars actually crashed due to the possible memory leak problem that's ongoing. But I think they have that fixed now. I'm just waiting for the developer of Astroberry to come out with a newer release. So I just finished transferring over my first sub, and I'm just going to open up PixInsight to have a look at it, to check my focus, because I don't want to go the whole session and then find out that my stars are out of focus. I did use a Batnoff mask, but as you'll see in a minute, I guess I didn't do that good of a job, because when I open it up and do an auto stretch and zoom in, you can see that my stars are out of focus. The target that I'm shooting is a wide field image of the jellyfish nebula and the monkey head. I'm using a Samyang 135mm lens and a ZWO ASI 1600mm cool camera with a hydrogen alpha filter. So I'm just here changing my exposure to 15 seconds. And I think this is where I stepped out onto my patio to put on my Batnoff mask. And I just stopped my guiding for a minute. Take a 15-second sub. Now I didn't bother slewing to any bright stars. I figured I'd just make do with the stars that were in the field. So as we zoom in, we can see that I'm obviously out of focus. So I run outside and adjust my focus on my camera lens. And when I come back in, I take another 15 seconds up and see if I went the right way. And as you can see, I did. So I close the Fitz viewer, run back out to the patio, remove my bat knot mask. Because I believe earlier in the session I actually shot my first couple of frames and then realized that I had left my bat knot mask on my lens. So I didn't want to make that mistake again. And here we are. So I'll restart my guiding again. Auto select a guide star and away we go. So I think in this part of the video, this is where I jumped ahead now to my first problem. And you'll see it come up here now in a second. And there we go. We start getting guiding deviations that keep getting larger and larger and larger. So what happened is that for some reason, the guiding on my mount had stopped. I mentioned this to the developer of Astroberry, and he seems to think that it could possibly be a power issue with my mount. So unfortunately I haven't had the opportunity to retry a new power supply yet, but I will certainly do that. I'm using a 10 amp 12 volt supply that I purchased off of Amazon. So I started the guiding again. Here I'm just upping the guide deviation to greater than 7 arc seconds. Because earlier in the session, which I didn't show in this video, I was having problems where it would image for 30, 60 seconds and then kick out when my deviation was about 3.5. And of course it wouldn't go above 3.5 for any length of time, but it would always stop imaging and then restart again. So once I increased it to 7, I never had any problems after that. So I'm just here waiting for the guiding to settle out again before I resumed imaging. I must say I'm quite impressed with this Astroberry build. It's the first time I've tried controlling all my equipment with K-Stars and Ecos. Like I said, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4, and quite pleased, I must say. It seems to work fairly well. I'm coming from using Sequence Generator Pro, and I've also used the ASI Air in the past as well. This is certainly a more simple solution. So now in this part of the video, after jumping ahead about an hour. Up until this point, everything has been going really good. So what I'm just sizing up here now is how far we are from the meridian flip. The target that I'm on, it actually, and there I am looking at it on my regular computer in Stellarium. I actually have the wrong part of the sky highlighted there. I didn't realize that until a little later. There I was actually centered around the Rosette Nebula, but my actual image is a bit higher in the sky. And it's set to cross the meridian, I think it was about 17 minutes after 9. So this is the first time I had attempted an automatic meridian flip with Astroberry. So I was quite anxious and eager to see how it would proceed. So we just finished receiving our 26th out of 50th image, and according to the information window at the bottom, the telescope just completed a meridian flip. Unfortunately, it did not. For some reason, it's still way too early. The object doesn't cross the meridian for another 10 minutes. And if you look at the timestamp, according to what is there on the screen, it took a whopping 2 seconds to do my meridian flip, from 21:08:57 to 21:08:59. It did do a recalibration of PhD2 after what it thought it had done on a meridian flip. So that's what it's doing there now. And if anyone watching this can answer the question, does it need to do that after it does a meridian flip? Does it need to recalibrate PhD2? Because I know with Sequence Generator Pro, it does not. So if there's some setting that someone out there knows that I could tick in the Astroberry or the PhD2 for the Pi, please let me know in the comments. And we're just about done our recalibration. You'll notice on the PhD, the view there, it's pretty washed out, because at the night I was shooting this, the target was fairly close to a waxing moon, almost a full moon actually. Hence the reason I was shooting a narrowband. So the calibration is complete, just changing filters, and we're back off to the races. But as you can tell by this page here, according to this, we still have 7 minutes and 20 seconds before our meridian flip is supposed to occur. So I don't know why it just thought it had to do a flip, which it did not. As I mentioned earlier, I was just checking the RAM usage, so we're up to about 40%. The first time using this Astroberry, it went to about 80-85% before K-Stars crashed, and then the RAM usage just dropped right back down to, I think it was about 12 or 15%. PhD2 kept going. It was only ECOS and K-Stars that stopped working. So I'm just going to let this run through until it actually is supposed to do a meridian flip at around 20 after 9, which it thinks it does, but it actually does not. It goes through the same process again, recalibrates PHD2 after it thinks it has done a flip, when in reality the mount hasn't moved at all, and then I eventually end up parking the mount, doing a manual meridian flip, recentering on my target, recalibrating PHD2 again, and resuming imaging. So I'm just checking the weather. That's where I live, the island of Newfoundland. They're on the east coast of Canada, on the Avalon Peninsula. As you can see, we've got some cloud moving in. I figured we probably had about another hour before it started getting overcast. We certainly haven't gotten much weather this year for astrophotography. Uh, Basically, ever since the middle of December, the weather's been pretty poor. I think we probably only had 1 or 2 clear nights in total, and probably like 2 or 3 hours, a couple other nights in between. This particular night here started off clear, but again it clouded over about 11:30 or so in the night. Again, just checking the time of the meridian flip, 3 minutes, 2 seconds. I was just curious to see what happened if I decreased the degrees. Obviously it went down. Now it's still tracking as indicated by the top right hand corner. Oh, and I just noticed that I'm actually shooting on the 183mm Pro as opposed to the 1600 as I mentioned earlier in the video. And as you can see, I look at stereo again and I'm still centered on the wrong place. I don't realize it until a little later. So at this point I'm thinking that the meridian flip is not actually supposed to occur until about 9:40. So I'm kind of still wondering to myself, why is it doing it early? When in reality it's actually going to attempt to do it this time when it is due at about 20 after 9. So I'm thinking at this point, if it doesn't do it now, it should do it after the next sub. So it carries on and takes one more sub. Again, check the time, due in 1 minute, 13 seconds. So I'm thinking to myself, it should definitely do it after the next sub. Just have a look at the guiding again, 1.78. mount I'm using here is an HEQ5. And I'm using an EQ mod cable. That again I purchased at Amazon, or on Amazon. So no doubt it was probably manufactured in China. Again, I don't know if that's the issue as to why the tracking stops on its own. It happened twice in this session. Once I did manage to capture and we showed you already. The second one happened a little later on in the evening. But again, I'm kind of leaning towards the power supply issue on that one. And as you can see there now, it's waiting for the flip to occur, so it's definitely going to attempt it when this sub is complete. 60 seconds. And there's another shot of the weather, the clouds moving in again. Not an overly cold night. A little bit of a breeze, probably about 20-25 kilometer an hour winds. And the temperature, I believe, was about -2 or 3 at the time. Celsius, that is. And now it's supposedly doing a meridian flip, so it stopped the guiding. And then it resumes the guiding almost immediately, and then starts performing a calibration. So it's obviously not enough time to even do a flip, to physically do a flip. I think at this point I was just looking out the window just to make sure that to see if it had or had not happened. Which it had not. So I don't know why it is doing that. So now I'm just looking at the mount settings. As you can see now it says status is inactive for meridian flip because it thinks that it has gone past and already done it. PHD2 still recalibrating. And again, if anyone who's watching this knows of a setting that I can, or if I'm missing a tick box under the brain for preventing recalibration from occurring after meridian flip, because it doesn't do it in this Sequence Generator Pro, please let me know. Here we are looking at the wrong target in Stellarium again. I still haven't figured that out. But I will. Just checking out the RAM usage up to 30 or 43%. And the calibration looks like it's almost complete there. And as you can tell, the mount hasn't flipped because the gradient from the moon is still on the same side. It hasn't changed from the last time. And as far as the ecos is concerned, as you can say, it says post-meridian flip calibration complete successful. So the program thinks it did a flip. So what I'm doing here is just looking for a setting that I may have been missing, possibly, that I didn't know about, because I'm fairly new to this still. So I'm glad I actually captured this so you can see all my EQ mod settings. And maybe I am missing something. So if you guys see anything, please shout out in the comments. So I couldn't see anything there jumping out at me. Hopefully somebody smarter than me will notice something. Just doing a refresh, see how many subs I'm after taking, make sure they're all there, which they are. And just finishing number 29. Just checking Stellarium again, and I think if this is at... Nope, maybe not yet. I do notice eventually. And the clouds are coming. So again, I'm just looking for some setting that I may have missed. There's one of my subs in PixInsight. I think this is now where I realize, oh, I'm not looking at the same part of the sky in Stellarium. There we go. That's more like it. No, not yet. There you go. So, according to Stellarium, your transit should have happened at 9:19, which we are 10 minutes past now, so the software picked the right time to do the flip, but it just did not do it. Bear in mind, it tried to do a flip 10 minutes before it was supposed to as well, so I don't know what's up with that either. So I think what I'm doing here now is just contemplating doing a manual flip. So I'm just looking for some means to ensure that I can get back to my target after I've parked the mount, and then try to resync. Being not 100% familiar with this software before, but I do find what I'm looking for. Right there under load and slew. So I want to be able to load a FITS image, solve it, and then slew to it, which is what that does. So I think I just wait for this last sub to finish before I stop. Double check Stellarium again. That's my approximate field of view right there. Transit 2116. RAM usage is up to 48%. Clouds are still there. Six more seconds. So what I do here now is stop the guiding, park the mount, which unfortunately adds to another one of my problems now in a few minutes. So if anyone is using this software for the first time, you can learn from my mistakes. Hopefully. So the mount is parked. Go over to the solve control, click on load, and nothing happens. What I keep forget doing is that I have to go back to K-stars, which I have on a different screen. So go there, find my last sub that I took, open it, and solving. It is solved. Slewing to target coordinates, but the mount's not moving. How come? I do figure it out eventually, just not yet. So I say, let's try this again. I think I'm just going to have a peek, make sure the mount is actually not moving, which I confirm. So I try loading it again. Load up my last sub. Solver started. Image is solved. Slewing to target. And again, the mount is not moving. And at this point, I'm starting to pull my hair out. Then I realize, maybe I didn't unpark the mount, which is exactly what the case is. So, third time is a charm. Go back, load again, load my last sub. It's solving. Solve completed, slewing to target. And we have liftoff. The mount is actually slewing this time. Changing filter, capturing an image, solving, repositioning. Capturing an image, solving, reslewing, capturing again, solving, third time's a charm. And we're back to where we're supposed to be. Go back to my guiding. And recalibrating. So there you have it. Like I said, further in this video, I didn't capture the second time that my mount stopped tracking, but it does. And K-stars